So this is what we had from the previous session, right? Previous session, we were able to take user input, right? Right now, we want to do more things with just taking user input, right? Something like, I want us to take two numbers, right? Let's like a mini calculator. Let's build a mini calculator, a program that will take two numbers and add them. Let's do something like that. So we'll create a program so that you, the user, a user will be able to enter two numbers, and when they enter the number, we'll do the sum for them. That very simple calculator, right? Let's do that. Since we have input now, so we should be able to do that. Since we can take user input, let's give them a simple calculator. So we are starting everything fresh. So I'm clearing the previous lines. So this is our previous line. So we are going to have first variable will be number one. There's always, this is the better for me. So number one, so let me call it number one, is equal to input. So we tell the user enter your first number here. Then we give a space, right? Those are the things that we learned in the previous session, the right way of asking user for input. Whenever we take the input, we put it inside a variable. That's why the number one is also there. Now they have another one called number two, will be equal to input, enter your second number here, right? So let's see, we have taken two numbers now. So what are we going to do with those numbers? We are going to sum them. We are going to sum those numbers. So I'm going to do sum. This is a variable that will sum the two. It's going to be number one plus number two, right? So let's print that. So let's read the F key. The sum of your two numbers is, right? So we put it inside this and we call it sum. Yeah, we are calling a variable. So all this we've learned it so far. We have learned it already, so we are just implementing it. If you don't know why we are this, how we're able to use this and this, everything here has been touched on. We have a video that it took time to explain, so go back and watch those ones. So now the program is ready. Now let's run it. So basically what does the program do? There's number one, right? We are taking first input with the first number, then we'll ask the user for another input again, number two. Then when we are done, there's a variable that will add them. So number one plus number two, then that's right. Let's go. Okay, so let's run this program. Okay, yeah, enter your first number. So they asked me for the first number, so I'm going to enter 5. Enter your second number. So our second number, let me enter 7. That should be 12, right? 5 plus 7, that should be 12. Let's see what comes out. What? We are getting 57. I'm not supposed to sum the things. We are getting 57. We are doing 5 in the code. We are doing 5, number 1 plus number 2. Why are we getting 57? What's going on? Yeah, this thing that I just did right now is intentional, right? So I want you to know that whatever we have done so far, the value that we are getting from the users, right? Whatever we are getting, the input, whatever you get from the input, they are not numbers. Even though in the terminal you enter number, right, the system will not take them as numbers. It will take them as string. So we talk about data types, right? So we talk about string. A number in a human readable form can be a string to the computer. Basically that. So when we say string is anything that enter the quotation mark. So whatever you are getting from the user, whatever you're getting from the input, and you are storing to the variable, that particular thing is a string, not a number. So it's on numbers that you can add them. But if you do addition on strings, we are just combining the items themselves. So 5 is there, and then we are attaching 7 to it, so they come together to appear as 57. They are not doing the actual summation like in math. They don't do that. So what is actually happening is that we have 5. If you enter 5, 5 is coming in as a string, not a number to the computer. By you, the user, you are entering as a number, thinking it's a number, but to the computer it's a string, because the input function always return a string, right? So the number 1 return a string 5, and the number 2 return a string 7. When you combine the string together, we are not going to have the summation 5 plus 7 to get 12, But you're just coming to combine them, attach them side by side. So 5 comes and 7 follows. That's what we have in our code here, right? So having this knowledge that input always gives you a string, input not using a string, we need to find a way to actually do simple calculations, actual calculations in a mathematical way. So we will need to convert whatever we have in a string to number. If the thing is a number, we need to be able to convert it to a number so that the program or Python should be able to use the mathematical operation on it instead of just putting it side by side. So how do we do that? This way we have to do type conversion. We have to do type conversion. So how do we do type conversion? So type conversion is where the so let's say before I go to the sum, I will do num1 converted, right? That's a variable num1 converted. So I'm going to do so what I'm going to do, I'm going to say that whatever you have number1, right, we are going to put it inside this particular function, int number1. That's what we are doing here. So what we are basically doing is that we are saying that this number1 that we have from the user input, you and I know that input will give you a string. So you need to convert it back to an integer. So we are using, I say, okay, integer. Integer is we are wrapping an integer around the number. So the number is a string, right? We are wrapping an integer around it so that it will actually convert it to an integer or an actual number for us instead of the program considering it as a string. So this one will now contain this num1 converted variable will now contain the actual string in integer form, not the string form. Let's do it for num2 as well. Num2 converted, right? Num2 converted will be equal to, so I'm wrapping number2 around this one too. So this is what I've done. I've done type conversion from string to an integer. Okay, so now for the sum now, we need not to have this sum. We need not to have this sum. We are going to sum, we're not going to sum number1, number2, but we are going to sum num1 converted because they are the one that are in there. Plus num2, right? Num2 converted. Yeah, so we have num1 converted and num2 converted now. So this one are now integers, not string. So if you do that and you call that into this, the sum will now contain the actual summation, mathematical summation, instead of the integer summation. So instead of doing the integer summation, we are now going to do what? Actual number summation. So what do we get from here? Let's run this code. So I'm basically going to have something. Let me clear the terminal and run this for you. Enter your first number. My first number is going to be 7. My second number is going to be 5. So I will return to the original number again, 5. This is what I have. So now the sum of your two numbers is now 12. This is what we wanted. So we were able to convert them. Then we have our number 12 now, right? So we take the input. You have to know that the input returns a string data type. So that is stored here. So after we take those two numbers inside the code, we need to, because we are doing mathematical calculation, right? We need to actually wrap each of them around an integer so that integer will convert them for us and store them as actual numbers for us. The program will cease to be able to see it as number, not like you will see it as a number. Because you're entering a number doesn't mean that the program will get it as a number. You need to actually go and then convert it. If not, you will enter into the same issue. Is there a simpler way to do this? Yes, we don't want to cover more lines of code, right? So what we do is that, okay, instead of taking the number and doing the conversion later on, we can do something else. Yes, we can do something else. What we have to do is that we are going to wrap the input inside an integer. So we are going to say int, you open the bracket, and inside the integer bracket, in the integer is going to wrap around the input function. So we do input function inside this bracket. You see, I have the integer out, and then the input is also having a bracket. That the input and this bracket come. Now inside the input of the input function, you now enter your first number, so that whenever the user enters the value at once, we don't have to go to the extra line and then try to do the conversion later. But then at the beginning, in the input, right, you should be able to just quickly convert that. So we have number 2 number 2 is equal to, I'll also wrap this input also around there. So enter your second number. Yeah. So now what I have here now is that the two numbers are now having change for me. So what I will do is I'll just do number 1, number 2. So this is what I have in my line of code. So quickly, let's run it. See, let me clear this for you. Our first number, I'm not going to use 5 and 7 again. I'm going to use a new number like 6. And the next number is going to take 3. We are expected to see 9, right? Yes, so we have 9 as it is. So basically, that's what we do, right? So mostly, if we know that at this particular instance, we want to take an integer value. We are an integer value, right? We just quickly wrap it around that. The other way is that you take the value itself, but then as a programmer, you need to know that the input function will return a string. So if you want to do mathematical operation on it, you need to actually convert each of them. How do you convert them into an integer? You put it around, you wrap the integer around it, and you do the conversion I did previously. Either way, that's when you actually have an integer working for you, right? So now, if you just want a string at a point, just like taking the name of a user, taking whatever of a user, those ones are strings. Those are just letters, right? What you do is you just quickly keep them as they are, and then you don't put any integer. But then wherever you need a number from the user, and that number is an integer, you have to wrap the int around it, then you are safe. That's how you need to make sure that you keep the data types in mind, and then be able to make your program run as you want it. Let's see in the next session and see how we can actually manipulate the input function with other data types, and then do a simple project on that.